Real Madrid ends up playing a sensational game against Chelsea. What can I tell you? It's not that, and I mentioned it when I was on Sports Max, the fact that it wasn't one underestimating Real Madrid and what they can do. There's no doubt you cannot underestimate them based on history, based on recent encounters. Maybe a Clásico would kind of create a doubt in the back of your mind. Maybe how they beat Celta de Vigo could end up creating some type of doubt in your mind. But you cannot doubt Real Madrid in the Champions League. Does that mean they're going to advance? No, it doesn't. It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that this tie's over. It is a very uphill climb for Chelsea. Let's not think twice about it. There's no doubt that there is a great possibility that Chelsea might not advance. There is. But there are other things that end up being a bit more worrisome for Chelsea, as they had a lot of moments where the defense was really exposed. And there's a lot of moments where you end up seeing the importance of Karim Benzema in this Real Madrid side. People are saying, well, yeah, how much how important is Karim Benzema to Real Madrid? I think today's match explained it. I think today's match proved how important he is to Real Madrid. And forget about the hat trick, okay? That's a big factor. But let's put that aside. The way he was able to be that first line of defense, the way he was able to move around on the pitch, the way that he was that bailout, and what I mean by that, every time that ball was being taken out of that middle sector of the pitch, his first touch was always pretty much, but you kind of get the idea what I'm trying to say here. It was on target. It was to a player wearing the same color jersey, to a player that was free, and it gave continuity whenever they were able to break out, whenever they were looking for transitions, and it went to the right players at the right times. So you start to see that Real Madrid were able to implement a tactic based on simplicity, keeping it simple. And that's what Carlo Ancelotti has been able to do throughout his career, when he simplifies things, and you start to see how his team is able to execute certain aspects of their game. You end up being impressed about how he can manage, about the way he ends up transmitting and communicating an idea. And that ends up being one of the keys to victory for Real Madrid. Madrid out-executed Chelsea. Yes, Chelsea had the ball more. Chelsea went forward more. But you didn't have that confidence that Chelsea were going to get an equalizer. Yeah, they ended up getting the equalizer eventually, or at least got one back when Kai Havertz is able to come in and get that finish, beating Dani Carvajal, I should say. Nacho comes in a little bit later. There's a lot of aspects of the game where you saw the collective of Real Madrid come out. You saw the overall spirit of Real Madrid come out. A team that was very brave defending, that was committed to defending for one another. They knew where each and every player had to be in order to be able to make a difference against the Chelsea side that we all know what they can do, both individually and collectively as well. But the collective never showed up for Chelsea. We didn't see the best N'Golo Kante. We didn't see the best Christian Pulisic. We didn't see the best of Romelu Lukaku when he came off the bench. We didn't see the best of those players. Therefore, the overall performance of Chelsea was hindered. A lot of missed opportunities, a lot of missed passes, a lot of mistakes that ended up being paid for on the other end. Meanwhile, Real Madrid, you saw a team that executed better, and I've already said that before. But also, you had a player in Benzema who has just been absolutely on fire. I think something in the previous, I think it was scoring a goal somewhere once every, I think like 20 minutes or something like that. If you go back to his last 2 matches, or every 36 minutes, I should say. I'm sorry. Which is absolutely ridiculous. He had an incredible performance against PSG. He's the one that was the catalyst to begin that comeback at the Santiago Bernabeu. And then he ends up doing this today over at Stamford Bridge. I did say it on Sportsmax that if Madrid advances, if Madrid get deep, I'm not saying win it. I'm not saying win it. Because that's a pretty tough mountain to climb. You still have Manchester City and possibly Liverpool to overcome. And to me, Liverpool is probably the team to beat right now. And maybe even Bayern. We'll see how they end up playing against Villarreal in the return leg, especially in Munich, especially being a goal down. We've seen when the opposition don't take advantage of Bayern, how they are able to come back when they play in Munich. Just saying. But if that happens, if they get to the semifinals, let's say if they get to a final and don't win it, if France ends up going deep, I'm not saying win it either. If France ends up winning the World Cup, obviously, if they end up going deep, semis, or maybe even get to the final as well, I cannot not say that Karim Benzema deserves the Ballon d'Or based on his numbers, based on his work, and based on the intangibles, which is something that no one maybe appreciates as much. Many are stuck to the stat sheets, constantly reading the stat sheets and the expected goals and all that other shit that people tend to look at instead of looking at what is being done on the pitch. Especially the way a player is communicating and understanding how one teammate is supposed to move compared to the other. Those types of things aren't being observed as much. When that's observed on Karim Benzema, you end up understanding why he is so important to this Real Madrid side. That first goal, if you start looking at how Benzema moved around, he weaved in and out of the play 3 times to make him show himself up, to be able to receive the ball, to be able to continue the path and the play. And as soon as that ball sent to Vinicius Jr., he ends up making a diagonal run where the defense doesn't keep tabs on him. The back line turns around and completely starts focusing on Vinicius Jr. No one on the back line starts looking at Karim Benzema. He has that well aware. So he starts saying, okay, who do I attack? Where do I attack? And he ends up finding the right angle. On top of that, where Benzema ends up being a crease in between the 2 lines, being able to, I guess you could say, break the lines, if you will. And then the N'Golo Kantés and company in the midfield also weren't keeping tabs on him. And as soon as he made his run, you see 3 players for Chelsea scrambling back, chasing him to no avail. Obviously, the header, a work of art. The second one, I've used it, and nothing else comes close to being able to offer the imagery. It was just more one of those Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan step back follow-away jumpers. And it was that step back follow-away header that he just is able to hit perfectly. Nothing that Edouard Mendy could do to try and stop that ball. So, give credit to him. Of course, he's the one that's going to get all the headlines. But give a lot of credit to Federico Valverde, who had a tremendous match over on that right side, in part responsible for that second goal. And again, you start to see a player that has been able to really, one of the few players in world football right now that sets the fear of God in defenses. And that's him. Again, let's appreciate, because players like this, at this stage of their careers, it's very rare. And now the big argument is, funny, just a few months ago we're talking about Messi and Ronaldo. Now everyone's talking about Lewandowski and Benzema. To be honest with you, I take either one of them. But you got to give a lot of love to Karim Benzema, because he deserves every single plaudit that he's getting at this stage of his career.